In the cold silence of deep space, the human ship Resolute Dawn drifted through the edge of the Andera Nebula. The glowing clouds of blue and violet gas wrapped around the hull, hiding the scars of recent battle. Inside, Captain Aaron Cole stood alone at the viewport, watching the distant stars. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes full of questions. The communication panel blinked red again, distress signals from the colony world of Verith 3. But Aaron already knew it was too late. The message had been repeating for 12 hours. Every human life on that planet was gone. Behind him, the sound of footsteps broke the silence. Lieutenant Mira Tran entered the command deck, her voice low. "They wiped the colony completely, sir. Not even escape pods. The Zythar didn't take prisoners." Aaron didn't answer. The Zythar Empire had warned humanity to stay out of their sacred sector. Humans didn't listen. They had built colonies, mined the asteroids, and expanded too fast. Now, the Zythar made an example out of them. Mira stepped closer. "Sir, Command says to fall back to Earth defenses. They don't want to risk another ship." Aaron turned slowly, his face pale under the dim lights. "So they want us to run? After 20,000 people were burned alive?" Mira hesitated. "We can't fight an empire, sir." Aaron looked back at the stars. "Maybe not an empire. But maybe we can make them regret ever touching us." A long pause filled the bridge. The hum of the engines sounded like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, waiting. 3 light-years away, on the Zythar flagship Crothul, Admiral Zyron observed the human transmission. His reptilian eyes narrowed. The humans were loud, emotional, and chaotic, a primitive race that had spread across space like weeds. But something about them bothered him. They didn't surrender easily. He remembered the Battle of Cyrenine, a single human destroyer that rammed a Zythar dreadnought instead of retreating. A suicidal act. Yet it had destroyed both ships. No logic, no fear, only fury. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, a tall insectoid creature with glassy wings, "our sensors show one human vessel still near Verith 3. Should we destroy it?" Zyron hissed softly. "No. Let it run home. Let them tell their kind what happens when they cross us. Fear spreads faster than war." He didn't know that the man on that human vessel was not running home. He was preparing for something else. Back on the Resolute Dawn, the crew worked in silence. The atmosphere was heavy. They had lost friends, families, everything that made space feel like home. But in that grief, something began to burn. Aaron gathered his officers. "Listen carefully," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "Earth Command wants us to retreat. But we're not soldiers anymore. We're witnesses. And witnesses can make history." He activated the holomap. A red circle glowed, the last known Zythar mining outpost near the nebula. "We're going there," he continued. "We hit them where it hurts, their resources. One ship, one strike. We show them what humans do when they're cornered." Mira frowned. "That's suicide." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe. But if they learn that killing us has a cost, they'll think twice next time." The crew exchanged glances. No one spoke, but one by one, they nodded. Humanity had always been strange like that. They fought hardest when they had nothing left to lose. Hours later, the Resolute Dawn slipped through the nebula, its stealth systems active. The gas clouds made the ship vanish like a ghost. The only light came from the burning remains of Verith 3 far behind them, a reminder of what they had lost. Inside the control room, Aaron sat at the helm, eyes fixed on the red dot moving closer on the radar. The Zythar outpost was small but heavily armed. They wouldn't survive a full battle. This would have to be quick, in and out, one shot. Myra's voice broke through the tension. "Weapons ready, Captain. Reactor charging at 83%. Aaron nodded. "Good. Once we're in range, we target their fusion lines. If we blow that, the whole station goes up." She hesitated. And us. He didn't look away from the stars. We'll find out. The ship drifted closer, hidden in the mist. On the Zythar outpost, alarms started to blink. Unidentified object approaching, said a technician. Speed minimal, no response to hails. Zyron received the alert from his distant command ship. He watched the feed with mild curiosity. It's just one vessel. Destroy it. But when the Zythar gunners locked on, the human ship suddenly accelerated, faster than they expected. It shot through the defensive line, firing 2 plasma torpedoes straight into the fusion core. The outpost exploded in white fire, tearing itself apart. The Resolute Dawn barely escaped the blast wave. Systems failed. Lights flickered. Mira shouted over the alarms, "Hull breach on Deck 4. We're losing power." Aaron smiled weakly. "Then we did it." As the ship drifted, surrounded by the burning remains of their enemy, he whispered, "This is how the galaxy will remember us, the species you don't corner." And far across the stars, every Zythar commander who received the outpost's last transmission would remember those words. The humans were not running anymore. The explosion over Vareth 3's orbit echoed across space like thunder that never ended. 4 hours, fragments of the Zythar outpost floated, glowing faintly in the nebulous mist. Among that debris drifted a wounded ship, the Resolute Dawn. Its engines were silent, its hull torn open in several places, but it was still alive. Inside, alarms were flashing red, air filters hissing, and sparks jumping from shattered panels. Captain Aaron Cole sat on the floor of the bridge, his uniform burned and torn. Blood trickled from a cut above his eye, but he smiled faintly. The Zythar station was gone. Lieutenant Mira crawled toward him, coughing from the smoke. "We did it, Captain," she whispered. "We actually did it." Aaron tried to stand, but fell back down. "Status report," he said quietly. "Life support at 20%, Mira replied. "Engines offline. Navigation gone. We're drifting." Aaron looked at the cracked screen showing the stars outside. "Then we drift home." She shook her head. "We don't have enough power to send a signal. If someone doesn't find us soon." Her voice faded. They both knew what that meant. 2 days passed. The ship floated in silence through the nebula, like a ghost forgotten by time. Half the crew was injured. Some whispered that command would never know what they'd done. But even if they died here, they had already sent a message, one that would echo through the galaxy. On the Zythar flagship Crothul, Admiral Zyron slammed his claws on the control table. "A single human ship destroyed one of our main mining stations? How?" No one answered. The bridge officers stood frozen. They had never seen the Admiral this angry. Zyron turned his head slowly toward his second-in-command. "I told you to let them run. Now they believe they can fight us." The insectoid officer trembled. "It was a small outpost, my lord. They must have been lucky." "Luck," Zyron hissed. "No. That wasn't luck. That was something else. Something I do not understand." He leaned forward, his cold eyes narrowing. "Humans are not logical. They are dangerous because they do not fear death. They turn pain into fire." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, signals from the destroyed outpost spread to neutral systems. Traders, mercenaries, and smugglers began whispering in bars and spaceports. "They say one human ship wiped out a Zythar base." "No way. Zythar defenses are impossible to breach." "Still. I heard the transmission myself." A human voice said, "Never corner us." Then the feed went dead. In a matter of days, that line became a legend. Never corner a human. For the first time, other species began to see humanity differently. Not as weak newcomers, but as something unpredictable, something terrifying. Inside the Resolute Dawn, the situation grew worse. Oxygen was running low. The lights flickered constantly. Crew members tried to stay awake, repairing what little they could. Mira sat beside Aaron, who was barely conscious. She stared at the fading stars and whispered, We'll be remembered, Captain. Even if we die here. Aaron smiled weakly. They'll remember. Not us. But what we stood for. A faint beeping suddenly broke the quiet, a proximity alert. Mira jumped to her feet. Something's approaching. She looked at the radar. A ship. Unknown design. Large. Too large. Her heart sank. Zythar. The enemy cruiser emerged from the nebula like a dark shadow, wings spread wide, its cannons glowing red. The resolute Dawn was powerless, an easy kill. Aaron forced himself up, leaning on the console. Get the distress beacon online. Maybe Earth Command can at least recover our data. Before Mira could answer, the cruiser sent a transmission. The hologram flickered to life. Admiral Zyron himself appeared, cold and calm. Human vessel, he said, his voice sharp like metal scraping stone. You destroyed a Zythar outpost. You have broken our laws and murdered our people. For this, you will be erased. Aaron looked straight into the hologram. You already erased a planet, Admiral. You started this. Zyron's eyes glowed faintly. You are outnumbered, human. You have no weapons left, no power. Why resist? Aaron smiled, a quiet, tired smile. Because that's what humans do. The Admiral tilted his head slightly, curious. You would die for pride? Aaron shook his head. Not for pride. For the lesson. Then he pressed a single command on the console. Outside, a small drone detached from the ship, a nuclear payload the size of a fighter pod. It drifted silently toward the Zythar cruiser. Zyron noticed it too late. The drone exploded with a blinding flash that ripped through space. The Zythar ship shattered apart, fire consuming it from the inside. The resolute Dawn was thrown violently by the blast. Systems went dark. For a moment, it seemed all life inside had vanished. Hours later, silence again. The wreck of the Zythar cruiser floated beside the half-dead human ship. Inside, Mira coughed and blinked through smoke. Aaron. Captain. He was gone. The blast had taken him. But his last act had ensured their survival. The explosion had recharged the ship's auxiliary systems. A single light blinked green on the console. Power returning. Mira stared at it with tears in her eyes. You crazy man, she whispered. You did it again. She activated the distress beacon and leaned back in the chair. Outside, the debris of two ships, one human, one alien, drifted together in silence. And across the galaxy, new signals began to spread. Data logs, sensor feeds, images of the destroyed Zythar cruiser. Every species saw the same thing. One broken human ship, surrounded by wreckage 10 times its size. They started to understand. This wasn't a victory. It was a warning. The galaxy had learned something that day. Humans didn't run. They adapted, they endured, and when cornered, they fought back harder than anyone imagined. 3 weeks passed since the explosion in the Andera Nebula. The story of the resolute Dawn spread across the galaxy faster than light could travel. In every corner bar, on every trading ship, someone whispered the same line. Never corner a human. To some, it sounded like a warning. To others, a challenge. On a distant station orbiting the neutral world of Terran 5, alien merchants argued over the new rumor. The Zythar lost an entire cruiser, hissed a scaled merchant. Lies, said a blue-skinned trader, waving his hand. Humans can't destroy a warship. They're weak, new to space. Another voice from the crowd whispered, maybe weak, but they don't die quietly. The discussion stopped there. No one wanted to say it out loud, but the truth was spreading. Humans were unpredictable, and the galaxy didn't know what to do with them. Far away, in the medical bay of the resolute Dawn, Mira Tran slowly opened her eyes. The soft hum of the engines was back, faint but steady. She was alive. Half the crew had survived, though many were injured. The ship was barely holding together. Aaron Cole was gone. His body had never been found. Mira sat up, staring at the captain's empty chair. It felt wrong to see it vacant. She whispered softly, "You said we'd make history, Captain." "You were right." She stood, straightened her torn uniform, and walked to the command console. "Computer," she said, her voice steady. "Log entry, Acting Captain Mira Tran. The Resolute Dawn is operational. We're setting course for Earth." The ship's AI responded in a calm tone. "Acknowledged, Captain." Mira took a deep breath. For the first time, she didn't feel like a survivor. She felt like a leader. As the Resolute Dawn limped through hyperspace, encrypted transmissions flashed between alien empires. The Zythar were furious, their pride shattered. Admiral Zyron's cruiser had been one of their strongest. Now, they wanted revenge. But other species watched carefully. The core Dominion, the insectoid traders of Mir, even the cold-blooded Vrax Consortium, all of them began studying human behavior. Reports poured in. Human colonies are fortifying. Human fleets are training in silence. No communication from Earth Command. It was as if humanity had gone dark, a calm before the storm. Inside the Human Military Council on Earth, high above the Atlantic arcology, holograms of the surviving crew flickered. Mira stood before the admirals. Her voice was calm, but her words carried fire. "The Zythar burned Vareth 3. We answered. One ship against an empire, and we didn't lose." Admiral Rhodes leaned forward. "You call that victory? Half your crew is dead, your captain gone, your ship destroyed." Mira didn't flinch. "Sir, they attacked a colony of civilians. We hit back, and now the entire galaxy knows who we are. Fear is a weapon, too." Silence filled the room. Then an older admiral, General Harper, spoke softly, "She's right. We may not have fleets to match the Zythar, but now we have something better, reputation." He looked at Mira. "You and your crew have started something bigger than a war, Lieutenant. You've started a legend." That night, alone in her quarters, Mira played Aaron's last voice log. His voice was tired, but steady. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. Good. Maybe now someone smarter can take command. Don't let them forget what we did here. Not the Zythar. Not anyone." Mira closed her eyes. "I won't," she whispered. Outside her window, the lights of Earth glowed like a sea of stars, beautiful, fragile, and alive. Meanwhile, deep in Zythar territory, Admiral Zyron stood before his emperor. The hall was vast, lit by cold blue fire. "You failed to contain them," the emperor said, his voice echoing. Zyron bowed. "I underestimated them, Majesty. It will not happen again." The emperor turned his glowing eyes toward a hologram of Earth. "Then crush them. Burn their homeworld if you must. But make the galaxy forget their name." Zyron raised his head slowly. "They will not be forgotten, Majesty. Not until they are gone from every star." Weeks later, the Resolute Dawn returned to active duty. Its hull was patched, its engines repaired, but the crew carried scars deeper than any wound. As the ship prepared for launch, a young technician whispered, "Are we really going back out there?" Mira smiled faintly. "Of course. The galaxy started this. We're just finishing it." She walked to the captain's chair, Aaron's chair, and placed her hand on the armrest. "For him," she murmured, then spoke louder. "Helm, set course for frontier space. Let's remind them who we are." The ship lifted, engines glowing like fire. In the quiet of space, it vanished into hyperspeed. Across the stars, alien fleets moved. Some toward Earth, some away. Fear and curiosity mixed like oil and flame. A small Zythar scout intercepted a human transmission. Short, simple, impossible to ignore. "To all who listen, we don't seek war. But if you bring it to us, we'll show you why no one corners humanity twice." The message repeated across frequencies, bouncing from station to station, until it became something else. Not a threat, but a promise. And every admiral, every commander, every alien ruler who heard it felt the same chill. The humans were preparing. They weren't running anymore. They were watching. And the galaxy had just realized, it might have started something it couldn't stop. The stars above Earth burned brighter that night, not because of peace, but because war was coming. From the far side of the galaxy, Zythar fleets were gathering. Dozens of dreadnoughts, carriers, and cruisers formed a storm so large their own suns dimmed in comparison. Admiral Zyron stood at the center of the flagship Krothul II, his cold eyes fixed on a hologram of the Sol system. This time, he hissed, no survivors. Behind him, officers worked in silence. They feared his voice almost as much as the humans he vowed to destroy. On Earth's orbital defense ring, Captain Mira Tran watched the live feed of those same enemy fleets moving through deep space. Their numbers looked endless. She whispered, "They're really coming." A voice came through the intercom, Admiral Rhodes. "Mira, your ship Resolute Dawn will lead the first recon wing. We can't face them head-on yet. We need to know their formation." Mira nodded. "Understood, sir. We'll bring you answers." She turned to her crew. "You all know what's out there. If you want to step back, do it now." Nobody moved. Chief Engineer Patel smirked. "After what we've seen, we'd rather die standing." Mira smiled faintly. "Then let's give them another reason to remember us." The Resolute Dawn jumped into hyperspace, its engines glowing like lightning. When it emerged, the crew saw them, a wall of Zythar ships stretching across the void. Every scanner screamed with signals. There were more enemies than anyone imagined. Mira whispered, "They brought their whole army." Patel looked at her. "And we brought one ship." "Yeah," Mira said. "That's usually enough." They moved silently, gathering data, recording fleet positions. But as they turned to leave, a new alarm echoed through the ship. "Ma'am, they've detected us." Before Mira could respond, plasma beams tore through space. The Resolute Dawn spun violently, shields flaring. "Brace for impact." The blast hit them hard. Panels exploded. Crew members fell. But somehow, the engines stayed alive. "Evasive pattern," Mira shouted. The small human ship weaved through enemy fire, darting between massive dreadnoughts. It was like a fly fighting dragons. Patel yelled, "We can't outrun them. Then outsmart them." Mira snapped. She fired flares, decoys, anything she could. The Zythar followed, predictable, arrogant. "Send the coordinates to command," Mira ordered. "Even if we die here, they'll know what's coming." The signal transmitted, just before another blast ripped through their hull. Back on Earth, command received the data. Admiral Rhodes stared at the hologram in shock. "They're heading straight for Sol. 36 hours. General Harper clenched his fists. "Then we fight. Every ship, every station, every soldier." He turned to his officers. "Send the message, this is not the end. This is humanity's line." Meanwhile, in the damaged Resolute Dawn, fires burned across the bridge. Mira coughed through smoke. "Status?" she asked weakly. Patel answered, "Engines failing. We've got one thruster left." "Good," she said. "That's all we need." She looked out the viewport. The enemy flagship was close, huge, casting a shadow that swallowed her ship completely. "Target their communication array," she ordered. Patel blinked. "That's suicide, Captain." She smiled. "It's tradition." The ship turned sharply, diving toward the flagship. Plasma bolts cut through their hull, but Mira didn't stop. She fired the last missile, a direct hit. The enemy's comms array exploded, cutting their fleet's coordination. Inside the Zythar flagship, Admiral Zyron roared, "Find them! Destroy them!" But chaos spread through his ranks. Without communication, ships crashed, fired on each other, and fell out of formation. The Resolute Dawn tumbled away, half destroyed but alive. Hours later, the crippled ship drifted near a small moon. The crew was silent, exhausted. Patel whispered, "We should be dead." Mira leaned back in her chair. Maybe we will be. But at least now Earth knows. And the Zythar. They'll never forget this day. She looked out the cracked window, watching the faint reflection of her crew. Tired, injured, but proud. Humans, she said softly, we're strange creatures. We break, we bleed, but somehow, we keep fighting. Back in Zythar space, Admiral Zyron stood over the reports of the failed pursuit. His Emperor's image flickered before him. You lost them again, the Emperor growled. Zyron bowed his head. They are not like other species. They refuse logic. They fight even when it's hopeless. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then erase them faster. Zyron raised his gaze. With respect, Majesty, the more we destroy them, the stronger they become. Fear spreads among our troops. Some believe humans are cursed, touched by chaos itself. The Emperor turned away. Then break the curse. I want Earth in flames. Mira didn't know it yet, but her data and sacrifice had changed everything. Earth Command now knew exactly where the Zythar were heading, and more importantly, how to stop them. A massive human defense line began forming near Mars, hundreds of ships, drones, and orbital cannons. The galaxy thought humanity would hide. Instead, they were preparing for war. And somewhere deep in the ruins of the nebula, sensors picked up a faint signal, a distress beacon from a single pod, drifting among the stars. Inside, frozen but alive, was Captain Aaron Cole. His eyes opened slowly as lights flickered on. He whispered to the empty void, "Guess I'm not done yet." Cold darkness. That was all Captain Aaron Cole could see. For a long moment, he thought he was dead. Then came the pain, sharp, real, human. His body floated inside the escape pod, systems flickering weakly. He looked out through the cracked glass. Stars. Endless stars. He groaned, voice rough. Mira. Crew. No answer. Only the soft hum of a dying pod. The navigation lights blinked red. Power low, oxygen lower. He didn't know how long he had been drifting. Hours. Days. Weeks. Then, through the silence, something appeared. A shadow moved across his viewport, large, curved, and glowing with strange blue lines. It wasn't human. Aaron squinted. What the hell? The pod shuddered. A tractor beam pulled him in. When he woke again, he wasn't in the pod. He was lying on a smooth metallic surface surrounded by soft light. His lungs filled with clean air. He blinked. The ceiling above him shimmered like water. A voice spoke, calm, distant, and echoing. You should not be alive, human. Aaron sat up slowly. Before him stood a tall figure, silver-skinned, eyes bright white. It wasn't Zythar. It wasn't human either. Who are you? Aaron asked. I am Kale, the alien said. Envoy of the Varan Collective. We found your escape pod drifting near our territory. Aaron frowned. Never heard of you. Kale tilted his head slightly. We prefer it that way. We observe, but we do not interfere. Aaron's voice hardened. Then why save me? Kale studied him for a long moment. Because you are different. Your kind should have died many times, yet you keep surviving. Even when logic says you cannot. Aaron gave a faint smile. That's humans for you. Kale turned away, hands clasped behind his back. Your war has reached every corner of the galaxy. The Zythar are coming for your homeworld. Billions will die. Aaron's expression darkened. Then I need to get back. My crew, Mira, Earth needs me. Kale looked back at him. Even if returning means your death? Aaron stood. Especially then. Kale watched him for a long time, then pressed something on a console. A hologram of the galaxy appeared, glowing stars and red enemy movements. We have been monitoring your species, Kale said. The Zythar fear you now. They believe your kind is uncontrollable, that chaos itself protects you. Aaron frowned. We're not chaos. We're just Stubborn. Kale almost smiled. Yes. And that stubbornness might change the future. He turned off the hologram. Our council forbids us from joining your war. But I do not obey easily. Aaron looked surprised. You're helping us. Kale nodded slowly. In secret. We will repair your ship, upgrade it with our cloaking systems, and send you back. But once you leave, you are on your own. Aaron extended his hand. Then let's make history again. Kale hesitated, then shook it. Humans, he said quietly, you are dangerous creatures. You make allies nervous and enemies terrified. Aaron smirked. Good. I'd hate to disappoint. For the next few days, the Varan engineers worked in silence, rebuilding Aaron's escape pod into something new. A small, sleek vessel with curved wings and a pulse engine that shimmered like glass. Kale explained. This ship is fast and silent. The Zythar won't detect you. Use it wisely. Aaron placed a hand on the ship's surface. What do I call it? Kale looked at him. It already has a name, Reclaimer. Aaron smiled. Fitting. When the ship launched, Kale stood on the observation deck, watching it vanish into the stars. One of his aides spoke softly. Why risk exposing us for one human? Kale replied, because one human can start a war, or end one. Meanwhile, far across the void, Earth prepared for the storm. The Zythar fleet was only hours away. Captain Mira Tran stood on the Resolute Dawn's bridge. The ship was patched again, battle-ready. Around her, thousands of human vessels floated in orbit. Fighters, carriers, even civilian ships armed with weapons. Admiral Rhodes's voice came through the intercom. They're almost here, Captain. You hold the front line. Myra's tone was calm. We won't break, sir. Not this time. She looked out at the stars, the same stars Aaron had once watched. For a moment, she thought of him. Wherever you are, she whispered, we'll finish what you started. And then the sky changed. Dozens of massive Zythar warships appeared, tearing through space like a black storm. Their engines lit up the void, and their cannons charged. Enemy fleet entering range, someone shouted. Mira stood tall. All ships, prepare to fire. Today, Earth stands together. The first wave of plasma beams streaked across the void. The battle for humanity had begun. Far away, the Reclaimer emerged from hyperspace. Aaron's hands gripped the controls as he watched the chaos unfold. Earth under siege, human ships burning, Zythar dreadnoughts closing in. He whispered, "Hang on, Mira." Kale's voice echoed faintly in his mind, a last message recorded before launch. "Remember, Captain Cole. The galaxy underestimates you. Show them why they shouldn't." Aaron smiled grimly. "Oh, I plan to." He pushed the throttle forward. The Reclaimer vanished into light, heading straight toward the war. Across the galaxy, alien races watched the battle through hidden channels. Some hoped humanity would fall. Others prayed they would win. But all agreed on one thing: whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The human ship Odyssey drifted silently above the burning world of Carthon 6. The stars around it looked calm, but inside the ship, tension was thick. Commander Harris stood in the main control room, staring at the holographic map showing hundreds of destroyed alien fleets. The war had lasted only 10 days, but it changed the galaxy forever. Carthon 6 had been the center of the Alien Union, the most powerful group of civilizations. They had believed humans were just another young species. But now, their cities were dust, their fleets gone, and their leaders silent. Dr. Lin entered the room quietly, holding a small glowing device. "It's done," she said. Harris turned. "You got the signal?" "Yes. We can send the message now." The message wasn't just words. It was a warning, encoded in every galactic language. Harris wanted the entire galaxy to hear it, that Earth was not to be threatened again. Meanwhile, deep in the ruins of Carthon's capital, a lone alien commander named Vet Har crawled out from the rubble. His blue blood left a trail behind him as he stumbled toward a broken transmitter. His entire army was gone. His people were gone. But even in defeat, he wanted to understand one thing. Why had the humans fought so hard? He remembered how it started, a simple patrol ship destroyed near Earth, a misunderstanding, a chain reaction. But the humans hadn't surrendered. They had responded with precision, emotion, and something Vet-Har couldn't describe, fury mixed with heart. He activated the broken transmitter and whispered into it, his voice weak but desperate. To the human commander. Why? Hours later, aboard the Odyssey, the signal was received. "Sir, it's coming from Carthan," a crew member said. "It's one of them." Harris nodded. "Patch it through." Vethar's image appeared, his face burned, armor shattered. "You win," he said. "But tell me, why destroy everything? You could have ended us quickly." Harris didn't answer right away. He looked at the stars outside the window and spoke slowly. "Because you didn't listen." Vet-Har blinked. "We wanted to control. We thought you were weak." "You're not the first," Harris said softly. "Every empire before you thought the same. But humanity learned one truth: never corner a species that has nothing left to lose." For a long time, Vet-Har said nothing. His breathing grew slower. Finally, he smiled faintly. "I understand now," he said. "The galaxy will remember." Then the signal died. Dr. Lin looked at Harris. "He was the last of them." Harris nodded. "Then let's send the message." A few minutes later, across the galaxy, communication satellites activated. On every planet, in every alien ship, screens flashed with a simple transmission. A human face appeared, not angry, not proud, but calm. "This is Commander Harris of Earth's Defense Command. The war is over. We did not start it. But we finished it. Humanity will not seek revenge, but we will defend ourselves, always. Remember this message, and remember what happens when you try to break us." The message ended with the symbol of Earth, a blue sphere floating in black space. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. On distant planets, leaders of surviving species watched in silence. Some felt fear. Others felt respect. A few felt shame. The galaxy had learned its lesson. As the Odyssey turned toward home, the crew was quiet. Stars drifted by like ghosts of the fallen. Harris finally spoke, his voice low but certain. "Dr. Lin, what do you think they'll do now?" She smiled faintly. "They'll rebuild. But they'll remember." The commander looked at Earth's direction, a small blue dot lost in the void. "That's all we ever wanted," he said. "To be left alone." But deep inside, he knew, the galaxy would never truly forget. Because from that day forward, every alien child, every captain, and every leader would hear the same whispered legend. Never corner a human. Years passed after the war that changed the stars. The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. The burned worlds had started to heal, and new alliances were forming. But the memory of Earth's fury still haunted every race that survived. In the deep void, the Odyssey drifted back toward Earth. Its hull was scarred, engines weak, but its crew alive. Commander Harris stood at the observation deck, watching the distant blue planet grow larger every hour. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to breathe. Dr. Lin walked beside him. "Home," she said softly. Harris nodded. "Home, and peace." But peace felt strange now. They had fought monsters among the stars, and in doing so, they had become something the galaxy would never challenge again. On Earth, cities had changed. The people who once feared the sky now looked at it with pride. Children played under giant holographic displays that showed the Odyssey returning. The words beneath it read, "Never corner a human." It had become more than a warning, it was history, a symbol, a legend. In a classroom in New Tokyo, a small girl named Aya raised her hand. "Teacher," she asked, "why did the aliens attack us?" The old teacher smiled kindly. "Because they didn't understand us. They thought strength was about power. But humans, our strength comes from something deeper. From our weapons? I guessed. The teacher shook her head. No, little one. From our will. From our hearts. Across the galaxy, the alien survivors had rebuilt their own worlds, too. But they spoke of humans differently now. They didn't say, Earthlings. They said, the unbroken. In alien markets, you could find small metal charms shaped like Earth, symbols of respect and fear. On the planet Vorthan, in a grand council chamber, a new leader spoke to his people. The humans destroyed what we once were, he said. But perhaps they saved what we might become. Let this be our new way: never provoke, never conquer, never forget. Back on the Odyssey, a final ceremony began. The crew gathered in the command hall, lights dim, Earth glowing through the main window. Harris looked at them, tired faces, proud hearts. He raised a small glass. To those we lost, he said. And to those who will never forget. The crew repeated softly, never forget. Dr. Lin pressed a button, and a digital capsule launched from the ship. It carried the names of every fallen human soldier, to orbit Earth forever, a silent reminder. Later that night, Harris sat alone in his cabin. A message came through, from the Galactic Council. It was the first communication since the war ended. He opened it carefully. Commander Harris, it said. The galaxy acknowledges Earth as a sovereign and respected power. A new peace treaty will be signed. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. He smiled faintly and whispered, we didn't want power, only peace. Then he walked to the window. Stars stretched out endlessly before him. Somewhere out there, new species were watching, listening, and learning. In the years that followed, humans didn't build more weapons. They built schools, colonies, and science stations. They explored peacefully but with strength behind every handshake. They became the bridge between old enemies, the race that turned fear into balance. On distant worlds, children grew up hearing the same bedtime story. Once, there was a world called Earth. They were small, fragile, and full of emotion. But when the stars came for them, they stood tall. They fought not because they wanted to rule, but because they refused to bow. And when the galaxy tried to break them, it was the galaxy that broke instead. The story spread from world to world, changing shape but never losing its truth. Generations later, long after Commander Harris and Dr. Lin were gone, the Odyssey was displayed in Earth's Space Museum. Tourists walked through its quiet halls, reading about the war that taught the universe a lesson. At the center of the museum, carved into a crystal wall, were the words that defined a new era. They came for us. They underestimated us. And they learned. Never corner a human. As the sun set over the blue planet, the stars above shimmered like silent witnesses. The galaxy had changed forever. And in that vast silence, every world remembered the same truth. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through fear, but through the strength of its heart.